In the quiet town of Eldridge, nestled between rolling hills and a winding river that whispered secrets to the wind, lived a man named Elias Thorne. He was not the kind of man who turned heads with flashy charm or boisterous laughter. Instead, he carried a quiet intensity, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. His days were spent in the old bookstore on Main Street, where dusty shelves held forgotten worlds, and his nights were filled with the soft glow of a single lamp, illuminating pages that spoke of loves lost and found. But Elias's story was not one of many loves, it was of one. Only one. It began on a crisp autumn afternoon when he was just 19, his hair still tousled with the recklessness of youth, his heart unscarred by the world's cruelties. The leaves had turned a fiery red, carpeting the paths of Eldridge Park like a tapestry woven by nature itself. Elias was there, sketching the outline of an old oak tree, its branches twisting like the veins of fate. That's when he saw Leela Evergreen. She was sitting on a bench, her auburn hair catching the sunlight like threads of gold, her eyes buried in a book of poetry. She wore a simple blue dress that fluttered in the breeze, and in that moment, Elias felt something shift inside him, as if the universe had realigned just for this encounter. He didn't approach her right away. No, Elias was cautious, observing from afar as she turned pages with delicate fingers, occasionally smiling at words that resonated with her soul. Days turned into weeks, and he found excuses to visit the park, always at the same time, hoping for a glimpse. One rainy day, when the sky wept gray tears, he finally mustered the courage. Shelter under the same oak tree, he offered her his umbrella. "You look like you could use this," he said, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. Leela looked up, her green eyes sparkling with surprise. "Thank you," she replied, her voice like a melody he hadn't known he was missing. They talked then, about books and dreams, about how the rain washed away the old to make way for the new. From that day forward, Elias's world orbited around Leela. She was 20, studying art at the local college, with a spirit as free as the river that bordered their town. Her laughter was infectious, her touch electric, and in her presence, Elias felt alive for the first time. Their love blossomed like the spring flowers that followed that autumn. Stolen kisses under the stars, long walks where they shared secrets no one else knew. Elias told her about his absent father, who had left when he was a child, leaving behind a void that books had partially filled. Leela spoke of her dreams to paint the world, to capture emotions on canvas that words could not express. "You're my muse," she whispered one night as they lay on a blanket by the river, the waters murmur a lullaby. But love, as Elias would learn, was not a straight path. It was a labyrinth, filled with shadows that crept in uninvited. Leela's family was wealthy, her father a prominent businessman who viewed Elias as nothing more than a dreamer without prospects. "He's not good enough for you," Mr. Evergreen thundered one evening when he discovered their secret meetings. Leela stood her ground, her eyes fierce. "I love him, father. That's all that matters." Yet the pressure mounted. Whispers in town turned to outright disapproval. Elias, determined to prove himself, took on extra jobs at delivering papers at dawn, stocking shelves at night, all while managing the bookstore. He saved every penny, dreaming of a future where he could offer Leela the life she deserved. "One day, I'll build us a home," he promised, holding her close as thunder rolled in the distance. Tragedy struck without warning, as it often does in stories of deep love. It was a stormy night, the kind where the wind howled like a wounded animal. Leela had argued with her father again, storming out into the rain. She drove to Elias's small apartment above the bookstore, tears mixing with the downpour on her cheeks. "I can't take it anymore," she sobbed in his arms. They made love that night, fervent and desperate, as if sealing a pact against the world. The next morning, Leela left early to confront her family once more. Elias watched her go, a knot of unease in his stomach. Hours passed, and when the phone rang, it was not her voice on the line. A car accident on the slick road set trucks getting into her path. She was gone, snatched away in an instant, leaving Elias shattered like glass underfoot. The town mourned Leela Evergreen, the bright young artist with so much promise. Flowers piled at the accident site, eulogies spoken in hushed tones. But for Elias, the loss was a void that swallowed everything. He wandered the park like a ghost, sitting on their bench, clutching the book of poetry she had left behind. "How can the world keep turning?" he whispered to the empty air. Years blurred into one another. Elias never left Eldridge, never sought another love. The bookstore became his sanctuary, a tomb of memories where he surrounded himself with stories of eternal devotion. Friends urged him to move on, to date the kind widow down the street or the lively teacher who smiled at him in the market. "Leela would want you to be happy," they said. But Elias shook his head. "My heart belongs to her. Only her." He aged gracefully, his hair turning silver, lines etching stories on his face. The town whispered about the man who loved only one girl, a legend of sorts, romantic to some, tragic to others. Children pointed at him in the streets, and elders nodded knowingly. Elias found solace in small rituals of visiting her grave every Sunday, placing fresh flowers, reading aloud from her favorite poems. One day, 20 years after that fateful night, a young woman entered the bookstore. She had Leela's auburn hair, her green eyes, but with the modern Agia tattoo peeking from her sleeve, earbuds dangling from her neck. "I'm looking for old poetry books," she said, her voice eerily familiar. Elias's heart skipped. "Any particular poet?" he asked, his hands trembling as he set down his glasses. "Anything romantic." "My mother loved them," she replied, browsing the shelves. "Your mother?" Elias echoed, a whisper of hope stirring. "Yes, Leela Evergreen. She passed when I was just a baby. I'm her daughter, Sophia." The world tilted. Elias gripped the counter, memories flooding back. That stormy night, their desperate embrace. Could it be? Leela had never told him she was pregnant. Perhaps she hadn't known, or the argument with her father had overshadowed everything. After the accident, her family had whisked away any remnants, including, apparently, a child born prematurely in secret. Sophia explained, raised by her grandparents, told little of her mother except her love for art and poetry. Now, at 20, she sought to connect with the past. "They said my father was a dreamer, someone my grandfather disapproved of. But I want to know more." Elias's eyes filled with tears. I think I knew your mother," he said, his voice breaking. Over tea in the back room, he shared stories at a park bench, the rainy day, the promises under the stars. Sophia listened, wide-eyed, piecing together the puzzle. As days turned to weeks, Sophia visited often. She inherited Leela's artistic soul, painting vibrant canvases that captured emotion in strokes of color. Elias, for the first time in decades, felt the spark of life. Not romantic love that was reserved for Leela alone, but a paternal bond, a continuation of what was lost. Yet drama lurked in the shadows. Sophia's grandfather, old Mr. Evergreen, still alive and bitter, learned of her visits. He stormed into the bookstore one afternoon, his cane thumping like judgment. You're the reason she's gone. Stay away from my granddaughter." Elias stood tall, his quiet intensity now ablaze. "Leela loved me, and I loved her. Sophia deserves the truth." The confrontation escalated, voices raised amid the silent books. Sophia arrived midway, her face pale. "Grandpa, stop. Elias is. He's my father, isn't he?" Silence fell like a curtain. Mr. Evergreen's shoulders sagged, the weight of years pressing down. "Yes," he admitted, his voice cracking. "We hid it after the accident. Thought it best for the child." Tears flowed freely, then a regret, forgiveness, healing. Sophia embraced Elias, whispering, "I've found you." In the months that followed, Elias's life transformed. He taught Sophia about her mother's favorite spots, shared sketches he had made of Leela. They painted together, laughed over old stories. The town watched in awe as the man who loved only one girl found a new purpose, not in replacing that love, but in honoring it through their daughter. But fate, ever cruel, had one more twist. Elias fell ill, a quiet sickness that crept in like autumn leaves. Doctors spoke of limited time, treatments that might prolong but not cure. Sophia stayed by his side, reading poetry as he once had for Leila. "Don't leave me," she pleaded. "I never truly left your mother," Elias whispered, his hand weak in hers. "And I won't leave you. Love like ours. It endures." On a crisp autumn afternoon, much like the one where it all began, Elias passed peacefully in the park, on their bench, surrounded by fiery red leaves. Sophia held him, tears falling like rain. The town mourned again, but this time with the sense of completion. Elias Thorne, the man who loved only one girl, had given everything of his heart, his life, his legacy. Sophia carried on, opening an art gallery next to the bookstore, filled with paintings of love eternal. And in quiet moments, she felt them both, her mother and father, watching over her, their love a guiding light.